I didn't believe it either. And I still hate saying I saw it because it makes me sound like I wanted the story more than I wanted the truth. The first proof I got was a phone video recorded at 2:11 a.m. It was short, shaky, badly lit. The kind of clip your brain wants to dismiss. But it showed a calf standing at the fence line in the dark, facing the house like it was waiting to be claimed. The unsettling detail wasn't the stillness. It was the eyes. No shine, no reflection, just flat, dark discs that swallowed the porch light instead of sending it back. I paused the clip on the one frame where the light hit its face clean, and I stared until I realized my brain was trying to bargain with what it was seeing. Then I shut the video off, and I drove out there anyway. The ranch was about 40 minutes from my place, out past the point where the road stopped pretending it was maintained. I told Lauren I'd be back by morning. I left out the part about the video, because I didn't want that sitting in the house with her and Emma like a third person at the table. The rancher's name was Dale. On the phone, he sounded like a man trying to keep his voice steady with both hands.
It's just a calf, it's not a ghost. I just need someone who'll look at it and tell me I'm not losing my mind.
I didn't promise him anything. I told him I'd show up, and I'd act like it was normal, right up until it proved it wasn't. When I pulled in, the herd was bunched up near the far end of the pasture. A single calf stood alone closer to the fence line, maybe 20 yards from the gate, perfectly still, facing the house. Dale met me at the porch steps with a flashlight in his hand like it was a talisman.
That's it. That's the one that came back.
I watched for the practical stuff first. A calf that's been missing for a day or two should be hungry, thirsty, and loud about it. It should be making a problem out of being alive. This one didn't bawl, didn't wander to the water, didn't nose the grass. It didn't do anything except stand there like it'd been placed. Dale leaned forward like he wanted to step off the porch and drag it inside, out of stubbornness. I looked past the calf at the herd, because animals tell the truth with their distance. The cows were watching it, but they weren't moving toward it. They held a loose line in the pasture like there was an invisible fence they wouldn't cross. I stepped down and walked along the fence, keeping my movements slow. The calf didn't track me with its head, didn't even flick an ear. I didn't need spooky yet. I needed wrong. The first rule showed itself before I even touched the gate. The other cattle refused to get within a few yards of it, like there was a line on the ground they wouldn't cross. Dale's two dogs followed us into the yard and stopped cold at the same invisible boundary. Both of them went stiff, and one backed up without turning away. Hair raised along its spine, like it was trying to get bigger without making a sound.
Come on. It's ours. It's just a calf.
He tried to coax them forward, and the dogs wouldn't move, not even a single step. There were horses in a pen near the barn. As soon as Dale rattled the gate chain, both horses snapped their heads toward the pasture and blew hard through their noses. One slammed its shoulder into the rail like it wanted out of the world. Dale opened the gate anyway, walking straight at the calf, with the determined posture of a man trying to force normal back into place. I stayed behind him, because I wanted to see how the calf reacted to touch. A calf should pull away, scramble, or lean into contact. It should have a messy, honest response. Dale grabbed a handful of loose skin at its shoulder and pushed. The calf resisted, but not like an animal. It didn't panic, didn't jerk away. It just held its ground with a steady, unfamiliar resistance, like it didn't understand what touch was supposed to mean.
It's stubborn, that's all. It's being stubborn.
That's not stubborn. I had a little can of livestock paint in my bag. Bright, cheap stuff that sticks to hair for days. I stepped in just close enough to reach, dabbed a thick streak on its left flank, and stepped back fast.
What's that for?
to tell if we're looking at the same calf tomorrow. Dale frowned like I'd insulted him, but he didn't argue. His relief was doing most of the talking now, because relief makes people generous with excuses. We left the calf in the pasture and went back to the porch. Dale kept staring at it like he could will it into acting right. Around midnight, the calf shifted its stance and turned its head a fraction, and it wasn't looking at the herd. It was looking at the house. That's when I realized it wasn't waiting to be fed. It was waiting to be noticed. I stayed in my truck that night, with the engine off and the window cracked, and I kept a handheld spotlight on my lap so I could sweep the pasture without moving the truck. Dale went in and out of the house, turning porch lights on and off like brightness could solve it. The calf stood facing the house for hours. It didn't bed down, didn't wander, didn't behave like it had fatigue. I swept my spotlight sideways so the beam hit it from the left, and my stomach dropped. The shadow, falling off the calf, didn't match the calf's body. It stretched too long and too heavy, like the light was catching something bigger that was pretending to be small. I blinked hard and swept the beam again, because that's what you do when your eyes try to turn against you. The shadow stayed long. Then I heard movement in the grass. It wasn't a coyote. Coyotes move quick and nervous. It wasn't a hog either. Hogs push and snap and break stems. This was slow, careful parting of tall grass, like something heavy was taking its time and choosing each step. Dale came out with his rifle and stood beside my truck, staring where I pointed.
You hear that?
Yeah, I hear it. The movement circled wide, staying just outside the spotlight cone. Every time I tried to catch it, the grass went still like it had never been touched. I didn't move toward the calf. That felt like the point of the whole setup. Near 307, I got out and walked the fence line instead, because I needed something physical to anchor the night. I kept my truck behind me as a hard thing I could reach fast. In the soft mud near a corner post, I found a single hoof print. It was deep, too deep for a calf. Not a slip mark, not a scramble, just a straight down press that held weight there and then stepped away. I set my boot beside it, and the print was wider than it should have been. That's when the night stopped feeling eerie and started feeling predatory, because deep prints don't come from mood. They come from mass. Morning didn't fix it, which is a rule I hate. If something is still wrong in daylight, it's not nerves, it's a system. Dale and I walked out to the calf together. The herd still held its distance. The dogs stayed on the porch like they'd been ordered, even though nobody said a word to them. I found the paint mark first, and it was gone. Not rubbed off, not faded, gone like it had never been there. Then I saw a smear of bright paint on the other side of the calf, on its right flank, placed too high and too far back. It was a crude copy of the idea, like someone remembered there should be a mark and guessed where it belonged.
No, that's not possible.
Nobody came into the pasture last night.
Nobody opened the gate. Nobody.
I did the only thing I could do without turning this into a campfire story. I tried to make it fail a basic test. We set out fresh feed, a salt block, and clean water. Then we backed off and watched what it chose. The calf walked to the water first, which was correct, but it lowered its head too slowly, like it was following a memory, instead of thirst. It touched the surface and held still, no eager gulping, no messy slurping. Then it moved to the salt, licked once, paused too long, licked again, and stopped. It was performing the motions, but the timing was wrong. Dale stepped in and put his hand on its neck. The calf flinched, but the flinch came late, like the reaction had to travel a longer route before it arrived. Then it went still and tolerated his hand, without leaning into it or pulling away. I got close enough to smell it and wished I hadn't. It wasn't rot. It was warm, wet earth and iron, strongest around its legs, like it had been standing in something saturated that wasn't just mud.
It's been in the creek bed, that's all it is.
Maybe, but creek mud doesn't smell like pennies in storms. I set a trail cam on the fence post aimed at the calf, and another aimed down the grass line where I'd heard the careful movement. I wasn't chasing proof. I wanted timing. Timing tells you rules. The pattern showed itself fast. During the day, the calf looked more accurate. It blinked more like an animal, shifted weight like it was bored, even nosed at the grass in a way that almost made me feel stupid for being there. At night, it got worse again. The stillness returned, the face went flat, and the herd held the same distance, like it was respecting a boundary nobody else could see. That evening, a barn cat didn't come back to the porch. Dale tried to act like it wasn't part of this, but he kept looking toward the outbuildings, like he expected the cat to walk out and scold him for worrying.
It never misses a meal. Not once in 8 years.
Around midnight, I checked the trail cams. One camera had a single frame that made my throat close. Behind the calf, low in the grass, there was a shape that didn't reflect light the way a deer or coyote would. It was too wide and too still, and it didn't look like it was crouching. It looked like it was built low. The frame didn't give me a clean head or eyes. It gave me a heavy suggestion, like something with weight was using the grass as cover and patience as a tool. In the morning, we found evidence placed where Dale couldn't miss it. A strip of hide on top of a feed bucket near the barn door, cleanly removed, no gore sprayed around. Just left like a message. Later, near the pasture gate, there was a small bone balanced on the latch post, like someone had set it there gently. It didn't feel like feeding. It felt like baiting. That afternoon, the calf started standing at the gate, lined up with the latch in a way that made my skin crawl. It was positioned like it wanted someone to open the fence and step out.
It wants in.
Or it wants you out. The trap didn't snap shut with a roar. It snapped shut, with Dale making a choice I couldn't talk him out of. He waited until full dark, grabbed a lead rope and a flashlight, and walked toward the pasture like determination could outvote instinct.
We bring it into the barn and get it under light. We pin it, and we stop this.
Don't do it at night.
If I wait, it'll take it again.
He didn't mean the calf anymore. Not really. He meant his control, his pride, and the idea that his own land didn't get to trick him. I followed because leaving him alone felt like signing my name under his worst outcome. Dale crossed the invisible boundary, and the calf backed away. It backed away without turning. It stayed facing us and moved backward in a straight line, guiding us toward the corner of the pasture where the fence met taller grass. The grass started moving around us in a deliberate pattern. Not random rustle, not wind. Stems leaned and parted in a wide circle, slow and patient, like something heavy was walking a track. I grabbed Dale's sleeve hard enough to make him stumble. "Stop," It's walking you.
Let go. It's a calf.
The calf did the one thing up close that broke that argument in half. It blinked, but the eyelids closed sideways. Dale froze, and his flashlight beam shook. The calf's mouth opened, not in a ball, in a silent stretch that went too far, like the skin didn't know where to stop. The smell of wet earth and iron hit us again, stronger, and it didn't feel like it was coming from the land anymore. It felt like it was coming from something alive, something close. That's when I understood the simplest, ugliest part. The calf wasn't the target. The person was. I dragged Dale backward toward my truck, and he came with me this time because his brain had finally caught up to his eyes. The circle in the grass tightened. The movement stayed controlled, still patient, like whatever was out there didn't need to rush, because it already had us where it wanted us. Dale stumbled, and his boots sank into ground that hadn't been soft when we walked out. Something grabbed his ankle and pulled. Not a slash, not a dramatic strike. A grab and a drag. Low and brutal. Like a machine doing what it was built to do.
Heaven help!
I hooked both arms under his shoulders and hauled. My boots dug trenches. The pull held for a second, testing, adjusting, then yanked hard enough that Dale's leg bent wrong and he screamed through clenched teeth. The calf stood 10 yards away, still facing us, still quiet. Then my headlights swept the grass and caught the real thing. It was low and heavy, wider than a man, built close to the ground like it didn't waste energy on height. It moved with confidence, not like a starving animal, like a thing that had done this before and knew exactly how humans behave when they panic. I saw a broad back with a damp sheen, and front limbs that didn't lift like paws. They pressed and dragged like they were designed to pull weight. In that same moment, the calf changed. It didn't bolt. It collapsed, like the idea of it failed. The shape sagged wrong. The side folded in on itself like a costume losing structure, and the head dipped as if it had never had bones to hold it up. The creature in the grass committed. It surged forward, grabbed Dale's ankle again, and tried to drag him straight into the grass. No show, no hesitation, just extraction. I got Dale's arm over my shoulder and half carried, half dragged him backward into the hard cone of the headlights. When his body hit the gravel near my truck tires, the pull weakened like we'd crossed a line it didn't like. I shoved Dale into the passenger seat and slammed the door. Then I climbed in and jammed the truck into reverse. Gravel spit. The headlights swung, and the creature stopped at the edge of the light and held still. It didn't flinch, didn't bolt. It watched like it was memorizing. I backed all the way to the barn floodlight zone and hit the switch. White light spilled out across the yard. The creature stayed just outside it, patient as a fence post, then turned away with a slow certainty that made my stomach drop. It retreated like it was done for the night, not like it had been chased off. Morning didn't bring relief. It brought proof. We found the missing calf down in a shallow culvert, wedged into brush like it'd been pushed there. It was dead, but it wasn't eaten. The hide was gone. Not shredded, gone. The skin had been taken clean off in long sections, like something had peeled it with patience. There wasn't a lot of blood in the dirt either, which meant it probably didn't die there. Dale stood over it with his hands shaking, staring at the exposed muscle like his brain refused to label what he was seeing.
Where's the hide?
That's what came back to your pasture. We didn't say much after that. We didn't have to. The whole night rearranged itself into a method. The calf wasn't a mistake or a miracle. It was a tool, built from the part of the animal humans recognize and feel responsible for. And the worst part wasn't that it worked once. The worst part was how quickly it started improving. If I hadn't seen the eyes in that first clip, if the herd hadn't refused, if Dale hadn't hesitated for even 1 second at the sideways blink, we would have opened that gate and walked into the grass like we were doing a favor for our own relief. Dale added lights and cameras and repaired the fence latch like hardware could seal up what happened. I hope it helps him sleep. I don't think sleep is the lesson. I think the lesson is that something heavy and patient learned how to borrow the shape of what people care about. It didn't need to fool everyone. It only needed to fool one person at a time. Thanks for sticking around till the end. Like the video, subscribe for more, and share it if you know someone who'd be into this kind of content. There's another video waiting for you on screen now. I think you'll like that one too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.